What's going on, guys? This is Nick from Budget Build Garage, and today I'm going to catch you up on basically how far I am into this back halving project and how I got here. If you saw the other videos, basically I showed you how to pick out, rails, like new frame rails and everything. If you've already done that, you've already ordered some, you could probably download the directions on a PDF or something, but to be honest, if it's a universal kit, it's going to be super vague. There's only going to be like really one thing out of it that you actually need, and that's going to be how far forward your frame sits from the center line of the axle. It'll tell you that number. That's all you need. All the other important stuff is going to come directly off your car, starting with basically finding that center line of your axle. So we're going to start at the beginning. You don't really need a lot of tools for this. Basically, you need some tape, a pen, a plumb bob, a couple levels. Ideally, they're digital. Even better if you got a bigger one, and even better if you got a laser one. So everything else, cutting, 4-inch grinder, it'd be nice if you had a Sawzall. That's all kind of basic stuff. You don't need anything really special for this. The reason I'm on the front is because obviously I've already taken everything out of the back, and I wanted to show you this. So the first thing you'll do, literally the first thing you're going to do, you're going to pull your car in. Wherever you pull it in for, it's fine. Don't worry about squaring it in your garage. Don't worry about making sure it's square with your driveway. That doesn't matter. Pull it in, get a jack under the back end of it, and get it like an inch off the ground. Pull those wheels off. We need to find the center line of your rear axle. So pretend this is the rear axle. That's where tape comes in. A lot of reasons I use tape is because most people don't want to just draw or spray paint or do anything on their actual floor of their garage, so I get it. Tape works really well. Put some tape under it, get your plumb bob. You're going to just lay it across the center line of your axle in the rear. Let it hit the ground. And then right when it stops, I'm not going to wait for it to stop because I've already done this in the back. As soon as it stops, it's dead hanging, make yourself a mark. Do the same on the other side. And then if you want, you can draw a line all the way across. That's the center line of your axle. That's the most important thing. After you've done that, you can go ahead and get this thing up on jack stands. Once it's on jack stands, I went ahead and put a tape line all the way across, and I went ahead and marked it. We can go to the back now, and I can actually start showing you what I mean. All right, so it's right here. There's my mark, CL. That stands for center line. This is where I dropped my plumb bob, and I made a mark. This tape goes all the way across. I used the laser level. It was perfect. I know it was perfect. Then once I used the laser level, I actually was lucky enough to have some of this laying around. And I was able to run this all the way under the car and use it to make a perfect line. So my line is actually straight. It's not squiggly or anything like that, because I'm going to use that line to take a bunch of measurements. But at this point, we're going to get the thing up in the air. When you get this thing up in the air, we need to get it level. So go ahead and get it up in the air to the height that you want to work on, and that's where it's going to be locked in. But the hard part is you need to lock it in level. I want it pretty much level front to back, but most importantly, I want it dead level side to side. And the way I achieve that, I got a bunch of jack stands. I got 2 in the back, I got 2 in the front, and I have 2 in the middle. The middle ones I made sure are ahead of where I need to cut. So I know from the directions that my actual kit goes in 27 inches in front of the center line. So I measured 27 inches up, made sure I had plenty of clearance, then put my jack stands in. From there, I went ahead and got a bar. It's right here, I'll show you. I put it on a stand and put it on an actual bottle jack so I can raise it up till it's just touching the bottom of the frame, and I laid my level across it. In order to really achieve it, I shimmed a couple of these. I also use screw jacks, mechanical screw jacks. Don't use a bottle jack, because what can happen is after it can lose a bit of pressure and start sagging. And as soon as it sags, you're no longer square, and you want to be square because you want to put those rear frame rails in dead even. You want to know you're perfect. Like I said, front to back, ideally you get it right, at least really close, but side to side it needs to be perfect. Let me show you. You can see right here, I have it shimmed. This is like 1/2 inch thick plate I have it shimmed with. On this side, you can see I have the screw jack. Let me get a side picture of it. So it's perfect there. In this one, I have it shimmed with like a little 1/8 inch thick plate. So yeah, this thing is perfect. At this point, we can start talking about cutting. And cutting is fun. Cutting is different for each car, and really depending what you feel comfortable with. The way it worked for this one was pretty obvious. Let me show you. So on the El Camino, obviously, we had the big wheel tubs inside of it. So what I did is I just went ahead and followed as close as I could to it. And it's not perfect, but I cut really close to it. I'll have to do a final cut later. But then I also measured the line directly from that spot and cut it all the way across. So I cut the whole section out, and I cut it all the way forward to where the metal overlapped right here. So that was easy to get out, but this is important. I only scored this part. It's not all the way through, and even if it was, it doesn't matter. But the reason I left it is because of this mount here. I didn't want to get into the structure of this mount because I don't want to have to start bracing the body. If you're doing this on like a Camaro or something like a unibody, you're going to have to brace side to side with, I don't know, some 1x1 box tubing or something. Make sure that that body doesn't flex at all. Since I left this intact here, here is my secondary body mount up here, which I actually had to replace, which was a pain, but that's fine. This is tied in, so my body is still structural. I was able to cut all this out. Make sure you've braced everything or you've thought ahead kind of like I did. Once that's out, you can kind of get the big stuff out of the way. Now, my next couple of cuts are really my last cuts before I can start actually putting this thing in its place. So this is where we start thinking about this, how wide your frame rails are. So let me see. I'll try to do this while holding this. So that is right there, 28 inches wide. Now this is pretty rough, no big deal. But so that is the new width of my frame rails. Very rough, doesn't matter. All that needs to come out, which means I actually have to cut into this, and I have to cut into this, and this has to be gone, obviously, because that's where everything else is going to go. I'm going to actually just cut the whole thing out. You can see right here, I've already taped a line. So this is on the side of the frame. It'll be the easiest part to cut through. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut down on the outside of the frame rail down here. And then this line here is 27 inches forward. So I'm going to cut all that out as well. As soon as all that's out, I can go ahead and put the new frame in and start adjusting for that. But now that I'm cutting all this out, I need structure. So I went ahead and put these up. These are just clamped in. I'm going to actually have to tack weld them in. This is just spare steel I had. So I'm going to have to tack weld those in like a really good hot tack. And then I'll have to put a crossbar from side to side. I'll actually probably do it much lower. I don't need to do it that high because I want to make sure it's all strong. So I'll go ahead and weld that in. And then I'll go ahead and I'm going to cut this area out because otherwise it's going to be in my way when I try to cut it. The crossbar will be in my way. And before I cut this stuff out here, I'll have already welded that in. Then I'll get back to you guys with another update. Alright, let me catch you up really quick. I didn't record a lot of this, not as much as I'd like to. I didn't explain it while I was doing it, because I've been coming out here for like 30 minutes at a time. I've been super busy working I work like 50-hour work weeks. Sometimes when I get out of here, I can show up for like 30 minutes. It kind of sucks. It's not the greatest way to work on cars. I hate doing it, but anybody out there that's got a full-time job and a family, you know that's just how it goes sometimes. But like I said, let me catch you up. These are just some uprights. This is 2x3 box tube. This is 2x2 box tube. I'm tying the frame together because I'm going to cut that cross member out soon. The way I did it is I clamped these two up, these uprights up. I put a tack weld to the top on each of them. And then I already had them very close with the clamps to, 90 degrees and everything. I made sure they were all straight. You can tack the top and kind of bend them in, bend them out, whatever you need to do. Once I had that, I put this bar in and I ratchet strapped the whole thing so I can make it perfect. Everything's zeroed out, welded it up, make sure it didn't change much because it really shouldn't. Once it does that and you're all good with that, I put a couple little inch-long welds in, nothing crazy, just enough that I know nothing's gonna move when I cut through this. I'm really not worried about it. The nice thing about putting it up this high is I can slide the whole thing under, get the whole thing up, but I can hang it from this back here. So the new frame will hang from it. It'll be easier to adjust it, put it exactly where I want. I can put a jack in the front. It's probably a screw jack really, a scissor jack, so I can get it perfect. And this will just help me keep everything level. I am ready to cut through this. And then once I cut all this out, that'll probably be it for this episode. Because then it's putting the new thing in and fitting it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut through these and we'll see what happens.